Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Travel Media Lab podcast. I'm your host, Yulia Denisyuk, an award-winning travel photographer, writer, entrepreneur, educator, and community builder. And today we're going to take a little break from our summer reading series that we've been doing over the past few weeks. And I hope you've been enjoying those summer reading series. If you have been, please let me know. I'm always interested in getting your feedback about how we're doing. And today I want to talk to you about something different, but related to the summer reading series that we've been doing. So can you guys imagine that half of the year 2023 is already gone? Are you also in disbelief and in shock as I am that it's August already? Like how did it happen, right? Today is the beginning of August when I'm putting this podcast episode together. And in this time, usually every year, most of Europe is currently out of office. And I love how my friend and colleague and our podcast guest, also travel photographer, writer, and TEDx speaker and entrepreneur, Lola Akinmaid, is handling that. So every year for the past few years, she's been posting on Instagram a notification that she's about to go on a month-long out-of-office vacation. And a couple of days ago, as she was getting ready to go on this annual vacation again, she posted, and I'm reading this from her Instagram post, every year I take the month of August off to rest, recuperate, and rejuvenate. So starting August 1st, I will be offline and on vacation until August 31st. And I will be checking emails very, very sporadically. So first of all, I just want to applaud to Lola and to say kudos to you, Lola, for leading by example and showing us what a act of recuperation and rest could look like in our culture, where it often feels like there's so much guilt and shame associated with not always being on, not always working, and generally not taking time for yourself and for taking care of your well-being and your mental health. So kudos to you, Lola. That was a really awesome example on how to do that. And of course, this is Europe, right? We just had a conversation like this with some of our community members, where it seems like in Europe, in the month of August, everybody is away from their desks and they are resting and recuperating. Whereas, of course, if you're listening to this from the United States, you know that it's absolutely not the case in the United States. And indeed, there is this very funny, well, kind of sad, but funny, if it would be funny if it wouldn't be so true, meme going around that I'm sure you've heard or seen before, which says, European out of office says, I'm away camping for the summer, email me again in September. And the American out of office reads, I have left the office for 2 hours to undergo kidney surgery, but you can reach me on my cell anytime. And of course, this is a bit of an exaggerated example, but it's true, right? We recognize this so much that definitely the culture in the US is centered so much around grinding, around hustle, around giving your all at the expense of your well-being and your sanity. And we have to do so much better to create time and space for ourselves to really breathe, to restore, and to move forward with clarity. So I want to use this opportunity today, the fact that it's the beginning of August, to take stock of how your year, your 2023, has gone so far, and also to discuss what you can do, if not to take a whole month off for yourself, then at least to create opportunities for that kind of recharging, that kind of recuperation that Lola is talking about in her announcement. So if you feel like you've been slugging away lately and not really making much progress in where you want to be with your work and with your creativity and with your goals, then definitely listen in and tune in today, because today's episode is for you. So what we're going to discuss today is we're going to talk about how we can create that time and that space by attending creative retreats and what those retreats can do for you. And when you hear a word creative retreat, just hold on, don't tune out yet, because I will explain to you what a creative retreat is and how you can actually recreate one for yourself, right? So there's different ways to look at what a retreat is. We'll also look at how to know if you might need a retreat. We'll look at some reasons for why retreats are actually effective and why they work. And we will also discuss and share different types of creative retreats that are available for you, including a do-it-yourself retreat that you can easily recreate with some planning and some thinking ahead for yourself, okay? And at the end of this episode, I will also share with you more details about a storytelling creative retreat that I'm running in Barcelona this November. So in case you haven't heard yet, this will be a 6-day, 5-night storytelling retreat in the mountains of Barcelona, which I'm super excited about, to see those mountains, where we are going to go deep into the craft of storytelling while getting ourselves ample opportunities to recharge, to restore, to find community with some pretty amazing people, and in general to up our storytelling skill and game. Stay until the end of the episode today to hear more details about the retreat, and definitely stay until the end to hear about the very special discount code I'm going to share with you to use for $150 off registration fee. And you can also find more details about this retreat at travelmedialab.com/Barcelona or in our show notes. Okay, so let's dig into today's topic of conversation. So we've already established that everyone, and I mean everyone, especially those of us who are in the United States, living in the hustle and grind culture of the United States, that we all need a break. But I want to now talk about what exactly is a creative retreat, and is it a break? Is it a vacation? Well, actually, it is not, right? So creative retreat is not a vacation, because you're not lounging in a beach chair all day long, mojito in hand, wearing your swimsuit, although in a proper sort of effective creative retreat, there should definitely be some lounging around. But by and large, a creative retreat is not a vacation. What it is, though, it's a structured time for you to do some deep, focused creative work. And deep, focused creative work can mean a lot of different things. Maybe it's writing, maybe it's brainstorming, maybe it's thinking, actually. Deep, focused creative work of thinking. Think about this. When in your daily life do you carve out a space for yourself to think? To think about your life, to think about your career, to think about where sort of your creativity is headed. How can you apply your creativity better in your career and in your life? We don't really get to do that, right? We yearn it. There's been numerous studies about the impact of doing deep, focused creative work on our well-being. We yearn that kind of work, but usually it really gets away from us because we're busy, we are distracted, we have deadlines, we have so many things to take care of, our families, right? Or we just simply don't have the inspiration or the guidance or the right setting to really kick your creativity in gear and to really have some time to think big picture, right? Do brainstorming and all those juicy good things. So, how do you know if you need a creative retreat? So, as we're again sitting here at the beginning of August 2023, I want you to take a moment and think about how has your year unfolded so far, and where do you find yourself right now? Take a moment to check in with yourself and think about if any of these following three reasons apply to you. So, first of all, if you've been feeling sluggish or uninspired or tired all the time and just generally feeling like you've lost a bit of steam or direction or clarity in your life at this moment in time, then attending a creative retreat is a really good solution. This is actually one of the reasons why I love traveling so much, because I have noticed over the years that when I travel, when I take my trips, that is when I get my best ideas about what I should do next, and about where to take my life, right? And that is because traveling takes us outside of our normal routines, right? We are so stimulated when we're traveling. We have new sights, new people, new experiences. Everything is new, everything is stimulation. And stimulation leads to inspiration, right? So when we take ourselves outside of our normal routine, we're stimulated, we're inspired, and we can usually produce some really interesting ideas, some clarity, and some direction for where we should go next. And our Barcelona retreat will be one such opportunity, because we will all be doing something we've likely never done before in a really beautiful setting, in a mountainous setting. So our inspiration will definitely kick in. Second reason for why you might need a creative retreat is that if you want to learn new practices, new tools, and new skills related to your creativity and storytelling, then attending a creative retreat might be a good idea. And I am a big believer, huge believer in learning from others instead of figuring out everything on my own. Of course, there's time and space for both. There are some things that you cannot learn from anyone else. You just have to kind of learn from doing. But there's so much expertise out there, and there's so many opportunities out there to learn from other people. And attending a creative retreat is one such opportunity. In our Barcelona retreat that's coming up this November, we're going to spend some time doing some field work, which I'm really excited about, and I'll tell you more about that later. And I'll also be sharing with you some of my best tips for improving your storytelling. I'll be sharing with you some practices about getting your creativity going. And I just can't wait to share all that knowledge with you. The third reason for why you might be ready for a creative retreat is that you are ready for different outcomes in your life. And this reason is related to reason number one, when we talked about putting ourselves outside of our normal routine and experiencing something new. I'm sure you know this saying by Albert Einstein, or it's attributed to Albert Einstein. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, but expecting different results, right? We've all heard that saying, and I really love it because I think it's so apt and so accurate. So whether or not Einstein actually said that, the principle behind this stands true, right? If you want a different outcome, you need to act differently. And going on a creative retreat is that opportunity to act differently, to reset or reload rather your regular routine, and to provide you with that structured time and space for you to think about your creative challenge or question that you're dealing with at the moment, right? Maybe it's about developing a book idea, or deciding or thinking about a direction that your career should go in next. Maybe it's thinking about what niche you should carve out for yourself, or getting a fresh perspective, or simply becoming a better creator and storyteller. Whatever it is that you're kind of wrangling with at the moment, right now, in August 2023, attending a creative retreat can be that opportunity for you to take a reset, right? To change something about your normal routine. Because if you stay in the same routine and you expect a different outcome, or you expect to find a solution to whatever it is that you're working on at the moment, then it's going to be hard. It's going to be challenging to do that. But as soon as you change that routine, you change your setting, you put yourself in a situation where you're surrounded by inspiration, by people who are working on similar things, by people who can teach you some things or show you direction, then you're going to see that direction appear much easier for you. Okay. So now that we know when we might need a creative retreat, I want to talk to you about the reasons why retreats actually work. And in fact, there have been numerous studies done on the effectiveness of retreats in various settings. We all know about wellness retreats. There's corporate retreats that you might have gone on before, and even academic retreats or writing retreats. There's many kinds of different. Yoga retreat is another one, right? But underlining all those different studies on the effectiveness of retreats, there are kind of 5 things that researchers have found again and again that make for an effective retreat. So those 5 things are pretty self-intuitive, actually. I'm sure those won't be a big surprise to you, but there are, first and foremost, creating time and space for you to do work, that deep and focused work, or to think about an idea that otherwise never gets the attention or the focus that it deserves, right? And it's quite simple, actually, because I can tell you, even this week and even today, there's been so many demands on my time and on my attention, and the inbox that doesn't stop, and family needs, all kinds of things, the phone that never shuts off, right? There's just so much demand on our attention, so that we really have to be intentional about creating that time and that space for us to do that deep work, because oftentimes in our day-to-day, it's just not possible. It's just not possible. We cannot escape it. So that is one reason why retreats are really effective. It's because they provide that time and space for you to really tune out all the noise and really think about your creativity, to think about your challenges perhaps that you're going through right now, and to seek and to find that next step, or that direction, or that guidance that you're looking for. The second reason why retreats are effective is that they create a community that will support you around a shared practice. And I've been building and creating communities now for several years, and I really love that part of my job. That's a big reason for why Travel Media Lab exists, is because of that building community aspect. And it never ceases to surprise me, or to astonish me, really, of how powerful that is, even if you do it on a mini scale, right? I recently did a 1-day workshop in Puerto Rico this May. Shout out to you if you're listening right now, all of our Puerto Rico workshop attendees. But we spent 1 day together, so not even full 6 or 5 day retreat that I'm doing in Barcelona later this year. It was just a 1-day event. I think we started at 9 o'clock in the morning and we wrapped up by 5 or 6. And still, even in that 1 day spent together around a common practice of storytelling, of creativity, of travel journalism and writing and photography that I was teaching, on that workshop, it had a powerful effect on the attendees and on me too, of course, because I was part of it as well, right? And it was just a beautiful, beautiful feeling. And so imagine if you replicate that for multi-days, for several days at a time, how powerful and how tightly knit that community becomes by the end of the retreat. And it gives you that support to continue that practice or continue using the tools and the skills that you learned during a retreat as you go back to your day-to-day life. And we'll talk about this in a bit because that's another important aspect of this. The third reason for why retreats are effective is because it gives you an opportunity to hone a craft. And that's related to number one, creating that time and space. Because again, in our daily life, we don't really have that opportunity. We don't really create that opportunity to hone our skills, to hone our craft. We're just so busy all the time. And so that's why doing that at a multi-day retreat is a good opportunity. It also provides you with a fresh perspective and self-awareness that you might not have had before joining a retreat or an event like that. And that is a really important aspect of creative retreats that I feel like sometimes gets overlooked. In general, I think we don't get enough feedback on ourselves and on our work and on our creativity and on our aspirations from other people. And my goodness, how important and how valuable it is to get that perspective, to get that feedback from, especially from somebody who's been in the industry that you want to go into or that is inspiring to you in some ways. That is just such a valuable thing to have that we don't often have an opportunity for. And on a retreat, you'll get that, right? You'll meet other people who probably go from all kinds of different walks of life. You'll meet me, of course. I will be there in Barcelona as well. And you have the opportunity for other people to give you feedback on what you're working on, to give you some suggestions, to give you ideas. It is a really powerful tool for getting that fresh perspective. And finally, the last piece of why retreats really work is that it incorporates, if it's done well, right? If it's a really well thought out and curated retreat, it incorporates a plan for implementing what you learned on the retreat into your day-to-day life back home. Because it's one thing to experience something on a retreat. It's a completely different thing to then adopt those practices and to bring them back to your day-to-day life and to use that energy and that inspiration and that excitement that you'll get from being on retreat to really make it last for you as you go back to your day-to-day, right? And on our Barcelona retreat, we're definitely going to be talking about that. There are several things that I'm planning already to ensure that it's not just a one-time thing that you've experienced and forgotten about. It's something that you can really take back with you as you come back and start thinking about 2024 already, because by the time the Barcelona retreat will be over, it will be 1 month left in this year, and then 2024 will be here before we know it. All right, so now we've talked about understanding, when you might need a retreat. We've talked about what are some reasons why a retreat setting is really effective at accomplishing lots of different things, including giving you a fresh perspective, helping you solve challenges, and kickstarting your creativity and inspiration. Now I want to just spend a little bit of time talking about the different types of retreats that are available to you. So if you find yourself in one of those 3 buckets above, you're feeling like you're uninspired, you're feeling like you're wanting a different outcome for your life, but not necessarily have a plan for doing something differently. And if you want to learn new skills and up your creativity game, then you might want to consider, well, what is available for me, right? What kind of opportunities in terms of retreats can I take upon? So the first type of a retreat available is a professional retreat, right? And this is what I'm organizing in Barcelona. And we'll talk about that more in a bit. The professional retreats usually take care of all the logistics like lodging, like meals and activities, so that you don't have to think about any of that stuff, right? You don't have to think about any of the noise. All of that has been taken care of, so you can really just focus on what matters for that particular retreat. And they also have an element of instruction, of coaching, of mentoring. And that is what I'm going to be doing in Barcelona as well. And finally, of course, they also have a community aspect to them, because usually professional retreats are done in groups. So there will be other people you will be meeting and perhaps even developing friendships or finding collaborators, finding partners, that type of thing. So these are professional retreats. And these retreats are definitely an investment in yourself, in your well-being, in your creativity, in your development as a creative person on this earth, I would say. And that's the purpose and the role that these retreats serve. Then there are also something that's known as a low-cost do-it-yourself retreat. So for whatever reason, if you're not able to go to a professionally run retreat, then you can create your own, right? Create your own. The key here is that you want to maintain some of those elements we just discussed above that make a retreat effective. So you want to carve out a time and a space for yourself, perhaps renting out an Airbnb room in a really nice location for one day, taking care of the logistics ahead of time, maybe ordering food ahead of time so you don't have to disrupt your day for that. And you want to have a plan and a structure for what you want to accomplish that day, right? Not just kind of show up and wing it, but really have a plan and a structure for it. For example, my goal for this one day Airbnb retreat is to map out my goals for 2024, or to come up with 5 ideas for a book proposal. And here is the schedule that I'll have for myself. Here's when I'll have lunch. Here's when I'll have my walks, etc., right? You want to create a structure so that day that you carve out for yourself is as effective as it can be. And finally, you can also do a no-cost do-it-yourself retreat. No cost meaning no investment required, right? And for that type of retreat, you can scale down even more and go on a mini retreat that runs maybe not a full day, but even a couple of hours, right? Even a couple of hours. But you still need to maintain the elements that we discussed above, right? You still want to have that time and space. You still want to take yourself outside of your normal routine. So going somewhere new that you haven't been before, maybe a local library, or maybe a hike that you've never done, but be sure to take your notebook so you can take notes. You want to have a plan for yourself for those couple hours. You want to take care of the logistics so that you have that uninterrupted time to focus on what's important to you that you're not able to focus on during your day-to-day life, okay? And the most important thing to remember here is that by going on a creative retreat like that, whether it's a professional one or whether it's one that you create for yourself, for a full day or for a couple of hours, is that by doing that, you are actually doing a favor to your future self. And I really love thinking about decision-making in that terms, right? What would my future self say if they had a chance to talk to me right now about this decision I'm about to make? that future self who is going to be more well-rested, more focused, more inspired, and more excited to bring to life some of the ideas, some concepts and projects that you will be able to come up with on a retreat because you carved out that time and a space for you, right? So what would that future self say when you had a chance to ask them about this particular decision of creating a retreat for yourself? So that's really important to keep in mind as you're making decisions and as you're evaluating opportunities that you come across overall in your life. So, all right, so we're almost to the end here, and thank you so much for sticking with me until the end. And as promised, I wanted to leave a few moments at the end to just really talk about my upcoming storytelling retreat in the mountains of Barcelona. So the inspiration for doing this retreat came from that one-day workshop in Puerto Rico that I mentioned. I ran that workshop this May in San Juan. There were about 20 amazing women in attendance in that workshop. And by the way, again, hi to all of you who are listening who were at the retreat. You guys are awesome. The energy and the enthusiasm and the possibilities that we created together during that one day really inspired me to replicate that, but do that in a bigger scale and in an awesome location such as Barcelona. So that's why we are coming together for 6 days, 5 nights in the mountains called Alt Penedes, just outside of Barcelona. And the dates for this retreat are Wednesday, November 1st through Monday, November 6th, 2023. And we are staying at a beautiful traditional countryside farm called Masia. This Masia has been beautifully restored by the couple that owns this farmhouse. And the amazing thing is that we will have the entire place to ourselves. Like, how amazing is that? I just can't wait. During this retreat, we will have plenty of opportunity to rest, but also to kickstart your storytelling and your creativity. And we'll do that by going on ethno-herbalist hikes. Believe me, you don't want to miss that, ethno-herbalist hikes. We're going to have cava tastings in the afternoons. We're going to visit traditional Catalan farmers in the area. We will also have massage. We will have leisurely lunches, morning yoga practices, and all while getting my best practices for coming up with story ideas, for creating compelling storytelling, and so much more. So because this retreat is a professionally run retreat, everything with the exception of your flights is going to be included. So you just need to get yourself to Barcelona, which will have a really nice weather that time of year, and all your meals, your transport, your accommodations, all the beautiful practices with our community, the workshops that I will lead for the 5 days that we're together, six days that we're together. And of course, the inspiration for the year ahead, all of that will be included in the registration fee. The spots are first come, first served, and we only have a limited number of rooms because the Masia has the limited number of rooms. So if you're ready to join me in Barcelona, be sure to go to travelmedialab.com/Barcelona and go ahead and join. And by the way, this is the special treat that I was mentioning at the beginning of this podcast for our podcast listeners. As a special thank you for listening to our podcast, you can use code PODCAST, PODCAST, all caps, to get $150 off your registration fee. And this special code expires on Thursday, August 31st. So be sure to use it before then. All right, so this is it for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. And if there is one thing only one thing that you can do this week after hearing this episode, let it be this one thing. Take a break for yourself. Maybe it's a 20-minute walk in the park. Maybe it's an hour with a good book at a coffee shop this weekend, or perhaps it's a call with a good friend. Just be sure that you carve out time and space for yourself, and I guarantee you it will boost your creativity and it will boost your energy levels. And if you end up following any of the strategies that we discussed today, whether it's going on a professional retreat or designing one for yourself, a full day one or a mini one, do let me know. You know how to find me. I'm on social or rather I'm on Instagram at In Search of Perfect and at Travel Media Lab. And remember, take a break, rest, restore. It is absolutely crucial for our creativity, for our focus, and for our well-being in this life. All right. Thank you so much for listening today, and I will see you next week.